Good morning. The topic of the day that we will be discussing is exactly what I'm wearing right now. I'm wearing a white collar. Is white collar crime. White collar crime is discussed in lesson 6. Refers to financially motivated nonviolent crime committed by person, business, or government. The person committing the crime are affluent, respectable people that in most cases carry a high social status within society or the group that they are a member of. White-collar crime was first coined by sociologist Edwin Sutherland in 1939. A crime committed by a person of respectability, a high social status in the course of his occupation. The term white-collar comes from the early 1900s. White-collar worker and blue-collar workers. White-collar workers were thought of wearing white shirts and white collars. They did not do the dirty work or the manual labor. They were mostly thought of as wearing white because they were clerks or worked inside, didn't really get down the nitty-gritty and do the hard manual labor. Thus wearing the white collar. The blue-collar workers, as mentioned above, did the dirty work and generally wore blue and blue collars to hide the stains from the manual labor that they were doing. So that's where the term white collar actually stems from. Typical white-collar crimes include fraud, bribery, Ponzi schemes, which we'll be discussing today, insider trading, embezzlement, cybercrime, copyright infringement, money laundering, identity theft, and forgery. The example of the book used of a person committing a white-collar crime was that of Bernie Madoff. You've probably heard of him, very high-profile Ponzi scheme. Mr. Madoff was a fit the mold to a T, white-collar worker. He was a stockbroker, attorney, actually sat on the board of chairmen for the NASDAQ. Very respected individual, so for him to act in a white-collar manner was fit his mold perfect. He actually was famous for operating the largest Ponzi scheme in the United States. A Ponzi scheme that actually set a record of about $60 billion. A Ponzi scheme is considered in the United States fraudulent investment operation that pays returns to investors from existing capital or new capital paid by new investors, rather than profit earned by the individual or organization running the operation. Operations of Ponzi schemes usually exist in entice new members by offering higher returns than other investments. The scheme usually operates strictly on trust, and usually involves high-profile persons, just like Bernie Madoff, living a lavish lifestyle to spark that greed to really get people motivated to open up their pocketbooks and make investments. Bernie Madoff just so happened to be busted for running the largest Ponzi scheme in the United States history. We're talking not millions, we're talking billions of dollars. $60 billion is what he actually stole from individuals, thousands of investments in numerous countries, not only the United States. Madoff actually was pled guilty to 11 federal felonies, including securities fraud, wire fraud, mail fraud, money laundering, making false statements, perjury, theft from an employee benefit plan, and making false filings with the SEC and other organizations. Currently, Madoff is living out his life sentence and was sentenced to 150 years in prison for his crimes. Other examples that might fit into a white-collar crime would be considered corporate crime. That includes anti-competitive behavior, environmental pollution, medical fraud, tax fraud, stock fraud, and manipulation, accounting fraud, the protection of unsafe goods, bribery and corruption, and health and safety violations. There's actually a photo of Mr. Madoff. I think this is actually his mug shot, if you can see him right there. not a happy camper. And one other thing I'd like to point out, it's kind of interesting, the color of shirt he's actually chosen to wear with the white and blue collar, because not only did he commit the largest white collar crime in the history of the United States, he fraudulated and stole from many hundreds of blue collar workers. That sums it up, and look forward to the next post. Thanks.